Our next speaker is Michael Aagaard, which I'm not sure where I met you. We met in Estonia the first time at Peblage's conference, I think. Now, this guy, I said his name and he starts jumping. You know, that's the kind of guy he is. So we had a guy with all the experience from like 300 million years of direct response marketing, and now we have the younger guy, which is like filled with energy, and he's just jumping to get on stage and give you all his best tips. So I'm going to shut up and introduce Michael Aagaard. Welcome.
Thank you, John. Is this on? It's on. Thank you so much for having me. I am truly excited to be here. And I can't believe that the biggest CRO event of 2014 is this one right in Stockholm. That's amazing. Amazing job by John and the other conversionistas. We're going to get started in a second, but this is unusual. I'm going to start with asking you a favor. Is it okay if I take a picture of you? Is that cool? This is the coolest venue I've ever spoken in, I think. So, could you all go, ah! Yeah! Wow. Really enthusiastic guys over here. That's beautiful. I'm going to put this down. All right. Okay, so I'd like to start by telling you a little story. I was sitting in the airport yesterday on my way over here, and as usual, I was stressed out, running from the office, and scatterbrained and everything. So I was sitting there, just about to board, and it dawned upon me that I didn't know the name of the hotel here. I didn't know where the speaker dinner was, and I had no idea what I was going to do when I get to the airport. I'm going to order a taxi. What's going to happen? So I was kind of like, that could turn out to be a problem. Just in that second, John tweets me. And he says, hey, I'm picking up in the airport. It's like, if this was online, the dude could use, some tracking software to actually understand, my worries and my behavior. But this is in the brick and mortar world, so he's got Jedi mind tricks or something, I don't know. He can tell the future, he can read my mind. So that was pretty incredible, okay? So that was cool. He really reduced friction for me here. It made me feel safe. So he set the expectations for me, but then he completely exceeded the expectations when I got to the airport. John was waiting for me. And he even had a sign that said Conversion Jesus. Oh, talk about catering to my ego. Makes me feel good. And then, he was so polite, the next steps, so this is the way to my car. It's right here in the parking lot. And we got to the car, he takes my bag, he puts it in there, doing everything for me, opens the door to the car, I still don't know where the speaker dinner is, so we're just talking and having fun. So he drives me to his house. Like, wow, he opens the front door, and bam! That's where the speaker dinner is. And it's not just any speaker dinner. This is champagne, man, and incredible food, and all the other guys are there. So this was just an incredible experience. Totally exceeded my expectations and made me feel like, well, a conversion, Jesus. So that was beautiful. Now, of course, you know what I'm getting at. What I'm saying is that if we could be half as good at giving our website visitors the same experience, well, then we probably wouldn't have this conference because guys like me would be out of work. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy that we aren't that good at it, all of us. Anyways, let's stop with cheesy analogies and back patting, and let's get down to business, down to the good stuff. So, when John and I were talking about, when he invited me over here and we were talking about, the session I could do, he said, well, can you bring us a truckload of test ideas? I was like, sure, man. Very few people on this planet have tested as much copy as I have, so I thought that's going to be a walk in the park. It wasn't, because this happens every time I sit down to do a presentation. I think it's going to take 2 hours, and it takes me 3 weeks. Thinking and mulling things over, and I went down memory lane, and I was looking at old tests, and then it dawned upon me that if I had done this presentation 2 years ago, it would have been very different. 5 years ago, completely different presentation, because I've learned so much in the meantime. I've evolved a lot, and one of the main things that really has helped me is that I've come to terms with my role as a CRO guy, as a conversion copywriter. And it's very far from what I thought it would be when I started like 6 years ago. It's kind of been a learning by doing thing. There wasn't really anything called a conversion copywriter back then. So when I got my first agency job, was fresh out of school, I was sure I was going to be this guy. Super sexy, sleek, walk in the room, and everybody goes, oh. You don't need data. Pfft. I always know what's right. Your customers are stupid. They don't know. I know better. I was so arrogant back then. So arrogant. Then I learned about split testing. Knocked the arrogance right out of me, because that's one of the beautiful things about always testing the stuff you do, is that you keep on getting smacked in the face with the fact that you didn't know and you weren't right. okay? I was not the conversion Jesus. So what I've learned in the meantime, really come to terms with, is I'm really not this guy. I'm actually this guy. No, seriously, man. Seriously. This is what I spend my days doing. It's not very glamorous, actually. I spend all my time fixing holes, fixing broken stuff that other people broke, or stuff that was broken before I even got involved, okay? So pretty much, you've probably seen this a million times before, but you know, websites usually are filled with holes. They're leaky buckets. There's money and visitors all over the place. You're falling out all kinds of places. We have to find the holes. We have to plug them. Sometimes it's very easy to find the holes. Sometimes it's very obvious. Sometimes it's very, very difficult. Sometimes you're plugging the wrong hole. Sometimes by trying to plug a hole, you create a new one. Sometimes you think the hole is up here. It's down here. Sometimes the hole isn't in the bucket. It's in the hose filling the bucket with water. So this is really what we do. And I was talking to John about it the other day. We were like, so what do we really do? And John was like, dude, we're fucking plumbers, man. We're the least sexy guys in the online business. But we don't mind, okay? We get our kicks out of seeing our customers get more revenue, get high conversion rates. So we'll leave all the sexy stuff to the content marketers and the newer marketers and all those guys. And we'll be fine being plumbers. I mean, if John and I actually got together and did a company, you know, we've already got the conversion scientists, so we could be the conversion plumbers. That would actually be the perfect title for us. Okay, so I'd like to kick things off now with a case study, because that's really, you know, the testing ideas. That's what it was really all about. So here's a landing page for my free ebook. One of the cool things about this page is that I can do absolutely whatever I want, because, well, I own it. So one of the tests I've been wanting to do for a long time, I'll show you in a second, but it was based on the fact that I've tested a lot of buttons, a lot of button copy, hundreds. And that is, in my experience, one of the absolute lowest hanging fruits in CRO copywriting. The text you put in your button. Next to the headline, that is the only thing that you can be like 99% sure that people are actually going to read, okay? So, based on that, I thought it would be interesting to test this button copy, because this is pretty much the best I could come up with. All my experience tells me, with a button, you need to focus on what people are going to get, what happens after you click it, what happens after I say yes. Don't focus on what they have to part with or what they have to do. And don't write submit. Submit, unless it's a dominatrix. I mean, otherwise it's, you know, submit to me, the ultimate marketer. That doesn't work. Okay, so one test I've always wanted to try was it was just kind of a stupid test idea, but I wanted to test this one. What happens if we say, don't click this button? Whoa, persuasion, messing with the mind, psychology. So I ran the test for 2 months based on 490 downloads. So that's pretty, that's a lot of data, you know, it's a long period. So now I'd like to ask you guys, so just by show of hand, how many of you think that the control button won the control copy? Well, okay, a couple guys. Yeah. And the rest of you? Do you think the other one won? Put your hand up if you do. Okay, you little rebels. Yeah, interesting. Well, there's no real difference. So I wasted a lot of time on this one. So my point with showing you this test is that this is a stupid test. It's really dumb. Not because I didn't get a lift, but basically because I didn't learn anything. I don't know why I did the test. If you ask me, the best explanation I come up with is, seemed like a good idea. That is not why you test. So I used to do this a lot. I'm a recovering split test junkie. I used to call myself a split test junkie. Just test everything. Andre Morris, you know, from WebArts, one of the most intelligent people on this planet, and one of the most advanced CRO guys, he says it beautifully. He says, don't test everything, it's too expensive, okay? So the big mistake I made back in the day was just to test and test and test and test. And what I find out now is that you can do that, but it's pretty much a waste of time, because testing cannot become an excuse for not doing your homework. It cannot become a toy. It cannot become something that you just, you know, oh, let's settle an argument, let's run a test. That's not the optimal way of using testing. So, I want to show you, just walk you through a case study now. I want to show you the process. This process took about 2 months, so I'm going to shorten it down quite a bit. I want to show you the difference between running a test like this and the stuff that I really like doing now, which I think is the right thing to do. This is just my opinion. You might have other experience. I'll show you now. So one of the clients I've been working with now in 2014 is Boxer TV in Denmark. You know, you have Boxer TV in Sweden, right? And I think there are 3 of you from Swedish Boxer here, right? Can you put up your hand? Hey! You guys are lucky. You're going to get some great test ideas. You can bring them straight back to the office, and you can document them before you start testing. So yeah, and I cleared this with the Danish office, just so you know. Okay, so working with Boxer, so we have to find out. Well, so basically they said, we want more conversions. Can you help us? This has got a lot to do with copywriting. Cool. Yeah, sure, man. So went through analytics, sat down with my analytics guy. We're looking through, trying to find the pages with the most potential. We're looking for landing pages with high traffic, high exit rates, high bounce rates. We're looking for the holes in the bucket, okay? So what we found out is that these product landing pages that offer you a digital TV solution, so these are really where people get stuck and where they exit the site. So these pages have huge potential, okay? So that's the way we honed in on these pages, okay? So just like a heuristic kind of quick rundown based on experience and gut feeling is that there really isn't a lot of information here, okay? The call to action here goes straight to the checkout flow, okay? So based on this, I have to make the decision to buy. This is a high scrutiny product, okay? People spend a lot of time considering this stuff before they buy it, okay? So this is pretty much everything. Now, one of the mistakes that I used to do is to focus only on the page that I wanted to work with and optimize. Well, it helps a lot to know what happened before and what's going to happen after, okay? People are rarely going to do everything you want to do on one page, okay? So in this case, we need to find out where do people go, which page do they visit before this, or do most people land straight on this? So then the navigation overview in analytics told us that the step before, one of the product overview pages is actually the one that sends the most traffic out here. So an interesting thing here also is that you can't see it on the screen, but there's a tiny little text link under the buttons that says read more or learn more. And twice as many people were clicking that little button as opposed to the big one that goes straight to the flow. This is an indication that people actually want more information. Well, what happens is you go onto a page that really doesn't give you any more information. It should almost say read less. After that, based on that information, we throw them straight into a checkout flow. They have to make a lot of decisions. There's a lot of equipment. There are a lot of choices. There are 5 steps they have to go through, loaded with choices. And we haven't prepared them for this. So we could also see in analytics when we build our funnels that the first step in the checkout had a huge exit rate. And also step 4. And that is the first time that you actually see your basket. You see the total amount. So that, I've seen this before, you've probably seen this before, it looks like shopping cart abandonment because people go all the way in there just to see what the price is going to be. So, starting to get a picture here. We probably need some more information. We need to answer some questions. What questions do we need to answer? Well, the best way of finding out is talking to our customers, of course. One of the things I've found out within the last couple of years is that qualitative data is very, very important. We have a tendency to forget that working online, only looking at big data. Qualitative data is very important in the beginning. We have to get inside the mind of our prospects. So we did an exit survey, ran it for a while, and we were trying to find out why people were leaving the website. So what we found out a lot of stuff, but the main things was people didn't understand the price. They said, the price you're showing us is not the real price when I get to the page where I can see the full price. There are tons of stuff you put on there, and I have to buy equipment, and there's fees and all kinds of stuff. And they were actually pretty angry about it because they didn't understand the price structure, okay? They didn't understand the equipment. They didn't even understand that they had to buy equipment. They didn't understand how Boxer even worked. So there's a lot of stuff, we need to answer. So now we know what questions people need answered. And also another thing, kind of just, observation here. Well, the headline is just actually stating what the product is called. It doesn't really help us. It doesn't explain anything. So I started working on the copy, and then one of the things that I also found out is that design and copy go hand in hand, okay? They support each other. So very early on in a process like this, I started making wireframes, building the thing. So I have an idea of how long is the page going to be, how are we going to structure it and everything. I think this is very important. And it's very important also that if you don't do them by yourself, you actually work with the designer instead of having this Frankenstein monster of, well, here's the copy and here's the design and we'll try and see if we can put it all together and blah, blah, blah. So here's the actual version of the page, okay? We use the headline better. We put 3 bullet points in there explaining a lot about the product. Logo's up there with the price. We have this little bar. Is there a laser thing on this? Oh, cool. So this bar is pretty useful. I've used that on other websites also to give you a complete overview of all the basic information you need. We put in some pricing examples showing you that if you pick, extra equipment, blah, 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 the price is going to increase. So you have an influence on the price. We explained how the thing works, and we explained why you need equipment and what equipment to choose. And so we have the fail-safe here that you can contact us by phone if you went all through this and it didn't motivate you, okay? So looking at the things side by side, that's a pretty massive page. I mean, it kind of makes Godzilla look like a midget compared to it. I mean, the client was kind of, whoa, what are you trying to do here, dude? And I was saying, well, I'm trying to build a landing page that is laser focused on getting our prospects to make the right decision by going straight for all their objections. So when we tested it across all the pages that had this template and adapted it, and we ran a test with all the old versions against the new ones. We ran it for 2 weeks. I wanted to run it longer. There's a long story why we couldn't run it longer, but here are the results. We saw a 16% increase to the checkout flow. We saw an 88% increase in purchases. We increased CTR on every step in the funnel, and the highest increases in CTR were on the first step and on the step where you can see the price for the first time. So the two steps we had the highest abandon rate before, exit rate, was where we saw the biggest lift now. This is telling me that we're actually answering the questions and we're helping them, we're preparing them for what's about to come. We're preparing them to convert, okay? It's very important. And last but not least, this is really interesting. I can't give you the exact numbers, but this is in corner. While we were running the test, before it was over, the variant had increased revenue by 5 figures. So those are some pretty solid numbers right there, okay? This stuff, to me, is like the ultimate. It doesn't get much better than this. We spent a lot of time preparing, making sure that everything we put in there was perfect, and then we tested it, and it worked out. We could have spent a lot of time, testing to get answers, but why not get as many answers as possible? Make the best variant before you start testing it. You're going to get better test results. This is an important point. So, you're probably also going to say, well, you changed so many things, radical redesign, what worked, what didn't work, you're not being scientific. Well, this is a question of approach. It's going to take a hell of a long time if we're going to test every little thing. That's why we spend a lot of time doing our homework first, radical redesign, then we can reverse engineer and pick it apart and see where the lifts came from. So, we started picking apart one by one. Every time I took out information, CTR and conversion rates went down, okay? Now, testing ideas. So some of these are also going to be insights, some are going to be tips, but it's basically all going to help you get better test ideas and run better tests. Okay, so the first one here, I use this all the time. If you've seen me speak before, well, you're probably going to be bored because I always talk about this, but I think it's so important. Focus on optimizing decisions. That's what we want. We want people to make the right decisions. The web copy, the web page is just a tool we have at our disposal. That's not what we need to optimize. Our goal is not to have sexy copy, it's to get more conversions. So on a page like this, for example, this is an example from a site called Betting Expert. As the name implies, it's a forum for bettors. You can get betting tips. You can hook up with other bettors. You can share tools and stuff, your experience. So if I asked every one of you individually what you would change on this page, I would get, a new answer every time. And a lot of you would probably say, burn it. It looks terrible. Burn it. Create a new page. I have a different approach to say, what is the decision we want people to make on this page? Well, the decision we want people to make is to fill out that form and join Betting Expert, okay? So in my experience, if you want someone to do something for you, it's very, very helpful to give them a good reason to do so. So I don't see a good reason here. I see an order. Join Betting Expert. Sign up. Plus. Which is also kind of confusing. So what if we give them a good reason? What's the most tangible thing on this website? The most tangible benefit of joining is that you get free betting tips. So we changed it to get free betting tips, and the button said sign up and get the best daily tips. With that simple change, we increased sign-ups by over 31%. I want to show you some of the data here on the test where I can, just so you can see what kind of sample sizes and periods and stuff we're running with. So this is not like a 2-hour test or something, okay? opening Pandora's box here with testing validity and significance, but I just want to show you a couple of examples along the way. Oh, okay, so this one might seem totally stupid, everybody knows this, but actually I find that especially copywriters forget this often. What are our goals? What is the conversion goal? What are we actually optimizing towards? It's very hard to make something better if you don't know kind of what the goals are, you know? So, one of the things that people sometimes forget also is that there are multiple steps to the final conversion. For example, for e-commerce, you can start with a subject line that gets you to, you see it in the inbox, you have to open a newsletter, then you go to whatever motivates you in the newsletter. You might go to a product overview, then a product page, then a basket, then, the whole checkout process, then the payment, and then we have the conversion, okay? So, we need to get people every step, all 10 steps. I used to do this also. I had a tendency to try to sell the final conversion for example, in the first step in the subject line. Well, actually, each of these steps has one goal, and that is to move you to the next step, okay? So, for example, if you look at subject lines, what I found out from testing a lot of my newsletter is that if I add a little exclamation, for example, hell yeah, I see higher open rates, okay? So this reduces friction in the inbox and helps it stand out. I've tested this a lot of times. Hell yeah has been the best one. The worst one has been, hey you. The reduced conversions, I think maybe I gave people the wrong impression. But so what I'm trying to tell you here is just like, on every step, figure out how to get people onto the next step. Don't necessarily try to sell them on the whole thing. Don't shove it down their throat, okay? So I'm not saying that you should go home and write hell yeah on the, how do you say that in Swedish? Helvete, something. Yeah, helvete, I don't know. Don't do that, but this is inspiration. You can use this. Okay, now this is the single best advice I can give you. This changed my life. When I stopped guessing and I started hypothesizing, there is a big difference. So with the first test, the first case study I showed you, that was pure guessing. I'm not even sure that was guessing. That was just kind of stupid. But this makes a huge difference. So a hypothesis, what is it? It's a tentative assumption made in order to draw out and test its logical or empirical consequences. So what we're saying is, we have limited evidence, we have an idea of what might happen. We're examining cause and effect. If we do this, we think this will happen. Automatically, by putting things together like that, you're going to scrutinize your test ideas. And if those two things by doing this is going to happen. If that seems implausible, well, then it's probably a stupid test idea. So already there, getting more focused, it's helping you get better test ideas. So I'd say that a solid test hypothesis is an informed solution to a real problem, and it's not a random guess. It's important. So, it might sound complicated. It's very, very simple, actually. There's 3 things you need for a test hypothesis. You need the change you're going to make, how it will affect your prospects. That's important. And then, from that effect, what is the impact you expect to see on your conversion rate? So, it could be as easy as this. Just filling out the blanks in this form will give you a test hypothesis. By changing X into X, I can get more prospects to X and thus increase X. Okay? You can take this home and fill it out. It'll help you. So when it comes to copywriting, it's not just changing stuff. In a lot of cases, it's adding something. It could be removing something. It could be reducing something. Okay? So let me give you a couple of examples. Let's go back to Betting Expert. So it's a betting site. We want people to give us their information. Well, maybe they're a little bit apprehensive. What can we do? Well, we can hypothesize. Okay, we can hypothesize that by adding a privacy policy, you can reduce friction, get more prospects to give me their information, and thus increase signups. Okay? Well, that seems like a reasonable test hypothesis. Okay? So now it's time to see if it works. So we put it on there. 100% privacy will never spam you. What happened? I reduced conversion significantly. That was a huge backfire. Okay? So you might say this was not a good test. I think it was a really good test. It taught me a lot. So by working with proper hypotheses, you can actually never have a really bad split test because you're constantly learning. I've used this on so many other websites. I've examined this on so many other websites. It's really, really taught me a lot, okay? So, what is the conclusion? Privacy policies don't work? It's a little harsh. Well, maybe it has something to do with the privacy policy itself. It could have something to do with the word spam, for example. Maybe it's, there's no guarantee on there. So it brings us to a follow-up experiment with a new hypothesis. By removing the word spam and adding a guarantee, I can reduce friction, get more prospects to give me their information, and thus increase signups. So let's see how that works out. We guarantee 100% privacy. Your information will not be shared. Bingo! That one worked. Okay? See what I'm getting at? So if you have a solid test hypothesis, you should also be able to reverse it if you really want to find out if it's a solid test hypothesis. So we can go on and say, by removing the guarantee and adding the word spam, I can increase friction, get less prospects to give me their information, and thus decrease signups. I tested this on my own landing page. I went from I guarantee 100% privacy to 100% privacy, I'll never spam you, and again, we saw a drop in downloads. Okay? You get this? Okay, so another thing, think in terms of reducing friction. Now, Roger talked a lot about this, and I think he has the best definition ever of friction. If it isn't motivation, it's friction. I know he just showed this as the last slide, so just repeating stuff. But this is really, really, really a good explanation. So actually what this means is that motivation minus friction gives us conversions. That's like the simplest equation ever. Now, I'm going to show you some different examples of friction. So on every single step of the funnel I showed you before, there's a potential that people are going to leave. They're going to leave between the individual steps. And usually friction is what makes people leave. So let's look at different examples. So one very, very common element of friction, Roger was also talking about this one, is when there's a lack of fluency, where there's a disconnect. We want people to go from whatever brought them to the landing page. We want them to go, they look at the ad or whatever it is, and they go, ooh. And then we want them to go to the landing page, we want them to go, ah. We don't want them to go, ooh, and then go, huh? That's really bad for your conversions, okay? So that's a very, very common mistake. Let me show you just an example I got the other day. This kind of cracked me up. So, Express clothing company, I buy a lot of clothes from them. They send me this email, subject line, meet your new favorite jeans. They're all $49.90. I need new jeans. Perfect. Open the email. Okay? So this is what I see over the fold. Perfect. A promo code, 1868, $25, blah, blah, blah. Jeans here, 5 days to save. Cool. Click through the landing page, and there's a picture of a dude and everything. Now the clicker isn't, yeah. This is the landing page. There's a woman there. They're talking about sweaters. They're talking about outerwear, and none of the numbers I saw are on the landing page. What the hell? So I'm desperately looking for something that will confirm that this is the right place. So up here, I start examining. I see some of the same things. This is what we were talking about before. There's a different promo code, which is kind of confusing, and it says, excludes jeans. The only thing I can use it for is jeans. What? This is insane. What are they thinking about? So weird. So we see this all the time. And this is copywriting, man. This is hardcore conversion copywriting. A really good copywriter should be able to tell the guys, putting this together, say, dudes, what the hell are you thinking? This doesn't make sense. It's even worse on mobile. This responsive side on mobile is even worse. 40, 30 outerwear. It says nothing here. There's not even, any images to help me. And the first call to action is search. But that's actually helpful, because then I can search for my favorite jeans and maybe find them, the offer I was looking for. Another very common source of friction is communicating to your customers, inside out, having a very business-centric approach to them. So this is a super, super simple example showing you this. It's a test I ran on a commercial real estate website. They have offices all over the world, and businesses, they come to the website. When they need a new office, they fill out. They click on the button, they fill out a form, and they get the information they need about the office. So the control here says order. This one says get. When we tested it, we saw almost 15% increase in conversions by changing it to get. Okay. I've shown this case study in 10 different countries, and I've asked people to vote for it. I'm not going to do it with you today. And every time, everybody votes for get. So there seems to be something very, very basic going on here. Okay, so why did I come here? I've never heard of anyone visiting a website to order anything. I've never done that personally, but I'd like to get stuff, okay? So this is the company saying, what do we want people to do? Well, we want them to order. So what should we write in the button? Order. Well, what does that mean? I don't want to order. I mean, 11 steps in a checkout flow. What does it mean? Get, I understand that. Yes, that's what I came for, okay? There's a big difference. And the basic thing here is, this is seeing it from your prospect's perspective. I tested this in Danish also. We saw an increase. Get is a very, very powerful word. Test the idea. Use the get when you draft your copy. When you draft your copy, this one word right away makes people understand that there's something in them for them. So another form of friction is not having the right amount of information. In this case, putting a lot more information in there was the right thing to do. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be the other way around. Sometimes you put in too much information, okay? So again, just think about this. People are into camps. They say, like, you should always write long copy. You should always write short copy. There is no one solution that fits all. You have to find out what works for you. So what I see is that the higher the scrutiny level, the higher the commitment, the higher the investment, the more information I need to make the right choice, and vice versa. So adding information doesn't have to necessarily building a Godzilla-sized landing page. It could just be adding a little bit more information. This is from Royal Copenhagen, a Danish e-commerce site I was working with. So here, close to the call to action over here, just by adding 3 bullet points, talking about return policy, talking about free gift wrapping, and free shipping. Putting that information in is pretty crucial. It could be part of the shopping cart abandonment reason that we don't have this information. This is essential. So what we put in there. These 3 bullet points, we increased sales via the landing pages. We tested this across thousands of landing pages by almost 30%. So little information on the right step on a mission-critical element is sometimes enough. Sometimes when we try to reduce friction, we increase friction. I showed you this example, okay? So it's not always as logical as we think. Here's another sorry. That's why it kind of cracks me up when I see a lot of privacy policies where the only thing they emphasize is the word spam. That's the only thing they want me to see. Spam! We guarantee you. Here's another example. I'll translate this from Danish. So this is like the return policy. You have a 14-day return policy. In Danish, the word here is pretty negative. It says regret. It actually means the right to regret. So I thought, putting it in there was going to get a lot more people to click through. So I ran a split test where I took it out. I thought we were going to see a drop. We saw an increase. Total backfire. So I'm planting an idea in the mind of people. It's like, will I really need to go get this? Like, are they really going to spam? What's going on? Okay. Increased clarity. I know. Standing with the fingers. But I actually got on a couple of minutes too late, so will that give you a little bit more? Cool. I took that as a yes. So, increased clarity. This is very important. One of my favorite, God, I hate this clicker. One of my favorite marketers in the world, been a little bit of a mentor to me, Philip McLaughlin from Meklas put it very, very well. Clarity trumps persuasion, okay? In a lot of cases, when it comes to online copywriting, clarity is persuasion. We need to understand quickly what the hell is going on the landing page. What is the value for me? Why is it relevant? So here's a good example of something that makes no sense. The value proposition, sell more books for $0 a day. How the hell am I going to make money? If I'm selling my books for $0 a day, it does not make sense. The call to action says, sign up for sales data. What the hell? There's no connection here. I have no idea what's going on. Another test idea. Make sure that your headlines and your call to actions are aligned. Okay? So if it says sell more books for $0 a day, follow up on that in the call to action. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what it was, and I still couldn't figure it out. Here's another example. Start with a solution that fits. Yes, I want to get solutions that can help me grow. Get my free evaluation program. What the hell is it? It's a solution. It's several solutions. It's an evaluation, and it's a program. And there's a lady. And what the hell? What is this? I don't have a top 1,000 status. I have no idea. So this is really, so here's a test example for you. If this is your landing page and you can't make sense of it, well, I recommend you start testing. You don't need very much data to make this page better. Another one, being too creative, all marketees. This is from Fitness World, a Danish chain of gyms. So they give this whole revamp, redesign. They got a tagline, you work out smarter. So the title for the landing page, you work out smarter at Fitness World. I challenged it with probably the stupid headline in the history of copywriters. You guys are going to think I'm an idiot now. Group training and fitness at your local gym. It doesn't get much more dull. When we tested it, well, it sold 38% more fitness memberships. Wow, what's going on here? I'm not saying this is the best one we could figure out. I'm just saying this makes sense. This doesn't, okay? So what I'm also trying to get at here is, just go forward, is that you need to balance your creative and analytical sides. If you're only analytical, your copy is going to be very, very boring. If you're only creative, well, then you're going to miss the point. You're going to be mumbo-jumping and just talking marketees. You need to balance the two. Clarity. Clarity can also have to do with just something as simple as managing expectations. How many steps are in this goddamn form here? Well, I ran a test where I removed it, and we saw a 9% drop in completion rate so far. I'm still running this test. I want to give it at least a month, but this is the tendency so far. This is also hardcore copywriting. Maybe not very glamorous copywriting, not what you think about, but very important. Let the data tell you what to test. Copywriters have a tendency, in my experience, to not really appreciate data very much. But we need the same data as we need with any other kind of conversion research. Heat maps, click maps, interviews and surveys, interview with customers, interview the guys in customer service, interview the guys in sales, ask them what are the top 5 questions you get in customer service. Well, that means that you're not giving them the answers on your website. There's so much inspiration to get. Analytics, of course we need web analytics to find out exactly where the biggest lift potential is. Test your hypotheses via multiple channels. So one of the really interesting things that I've started doing now is to find as many different channels to test the same hypotheses. So it could, for example, be a value proposition. Well, let's test that in our AdWords ads. Let's see what works best. Let's test that in our subject lines, in our emails, and then we can implement it on our website. And the other way around, what we're learning on our landing pages, let's use that to see if it's really is what sticks in the mind of our prospects on the other channels. Well, online testing is so much cheaper than doing it offline. So use it as a laboratory before you spend a ton of money printing everything. You know, find out if it really works. You work out smarter. Is that really the right thing? If we run a split test and we sell 38% more memberships by saying, you know, something as silly as what I was saying, well, maybe we shouldn't use that slogan, you know, and spend millions on it. Steal from your target audience. I showed you an example of it before with the test from the e-commerce website where by going through reviews, I found out one of the things people love about the website is the gift wrapping. So let's put the free gift wrapping in there. This is stealing exactly from the mouth of your prospect. Go through review sites, for example, Trustpilot, Amazon. Look at your competitors' products. How are people describing them? What are they using them for? This is insight that is gold, man. Focus on mission-critical elements. Buttons, forms, headlines, checkout flows, elements that people have to interact with in order to get to the next step. Small copy changes can have huge impact. Privacy policies also. Focus on the really important elements that people have to interact with. I'm running out of time now, I'm sorry. You're going to get the slides. This is a very simple technique to help you come up with better test hypotheses and better test ideas. Ask these 4 questions. People have a tendency to go straight to how. How am I going to make this page better? Go through these 3 questions: who, why, what, in that order, and then end up with the why. You can check this out afterwards, but basically it's all about finding out who's visiting my landing page, what are the motivations, what are the barriers. We need to find out everything. What kind of information do we need to give them, for example? And then we have all those things ready. Then we can say, how should I optimize this page in order to give them the best experience and get a higher conversion rate? Okay? Want to leave you with one message. People don't buy from websites. People buy from people. Never forget that on the other side of the screen, there are real people of flesh and blood, and they are the ones who are going to make your conversion rates go up. That's why it's their decisions you need to optimize. All right. Thank you. I went a little bit over time. Thank you for bearing with me. You're going to have a little bit shorter break.